everyone. Welcome back to Remote Work Bay. I have Ian Hicks with me here today. It's a big week for you, Ian. From what I am seeing, you're releasing 2 songs this week, right?
Yeah, I've been busy, that's for sure.
Congratulations. Tell us a little bit about Eko Zu and the story of how Eko Zu came to be.
Wow. Yeah, it's been through a lot of different shifts and formations. And also the sound has changed up quite a bit in the past couple years. It basically started as a trio with me and two of my really good friends, the girls from Astrologic. They're an amazing duo, so definitely check them out if you can. And yeah, we just loved playing. We wanted to bring the live electronic vibe together and have a sound that was very floor friendly and very festival friendly, but still, organically relatable and something that can be performed live. And I still try to, yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I still try to kind of maintain that, even though a lot of things have changed. And yeah, we started it up in the Bay Area maybe 3 or 4 years ago and played a couple festivals like Northern Nights and Pixie Dust, which was up in Olympia. But yeah, as these things go, being in a band is kind of like being in a relationship in a lot of different ways, which I'm sure it's kind of the same with any sort of like business partnership or anything like that.
Mhm.
With the music, there's like the creative side and the business side that have to work in harmony. There's all sorts of other factors as well, of course. But yeah, basically about a year and a half ago or so, the girls they basically they weren't really resonating with the project anymore. They had some different like musical ambitions that they were going for, kind of a different sound. I think the blanket answer would be creative differences. That seems to be the one that a lot of bands kind of like go different ways through, and that was it was pretty tough. It kind of threw me for a loop. I felt like I was suddenly standing on one leg, and yeah, it was hard. It was like, even though we were still friends and we are still friends, it was still kind of like losing some of your best friends. But I think it's been really helpful for me to learn how to redesign myself or redesign the project, and redesign the brand into being something that is more of a reflection of directly me rather than a reflection of the combination of the three of us, which was also really difficult. It's like, how do you speak with a voice, on Instagram or insert social media here, in a voice that's true to you, but that you're also trying to be true to other people. So I think that through doing more solo work, it's enabled me or empowered me to develop or find or just be more true to, the voice that I just naturally speak with. It's a little bit more unfiltered, I guess, in a way. And the same thing for the music. It's been really great doing a lot more collaborations and kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone, really needing to learn how to work with vocalists and other instrumentalists. I'm a producer, so my specialty is getting songs across the finish line, basically, which is kind of the hardest part of the discipline, which I've had to work a lot on, is finishing it, sending it, shipping it. Steve Jobs says real artists ship, is kind of one of his famous quotes, which I really like. But yeah, doing the collaborations has been really great. I've been working with some amazing singers and songwriters and coming out with music that feels really true to where I am right now in this exact moment. And yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, and it's just gonna keep going. I have a tune coming out in not too long with Craddy, who's like one of my favorite producers, which is amazing. And it's also featuring Will, who's one of my favorite vocalists. So getting to work with artists like Il Gates directly in the studio, where he taught me so much of what I'm using today. And yeah, it's been a quite a growing experience for the past couple years, as I'm sure it has been for you as well.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. And how long has Eko Zu been around?
I think first Eko Zoo release was in 2018. No, maybe 2017. Yeah, I think it was just 2016 or 2017 of December. I want to say 2017. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
been somewhere in there 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And the sound is much different than it was. Anybody who listens to like our first releases would probably be surprised to listen to like the more recent
Mhm.
releases, which is I think it's fun, you know. It's fun to try different things and not feel too constricted to any one style or sound. And I feel that as an artist, if you pigeonhole yourself too early on with a specific sound and your fans aren't used to malleability, it can make it really hard to branch out and keep expressing yourself in an authentic way. But there's also a lot of labels and managers and artists who would probably say it's a lot easier to build a brand around one genre or, you
Yeah.
know, very cohesive sound, which makes sense as well. I guess it's just whatever is resonating most with you.
Right. And so I know before this, you were front of house for a bunch of A-list musician DJs. Like, how did you get involved with that? And are you still involved with that? Are you doing multiple projects at once and still producing music?
Yeah, well, basically making music inspired me to go to school for making better music, basically. And also when I went to school to make my own music sound better, I learned how to make other people's music sound better. And so right out of college, the dream has always been to make my music something that resonates with people around the world and to develop a voice and that trust that I can incite some really positive change. But maybe we can come back to that later
Yeah.
and I'll we can circle back. But basically, coming out of college, the first gigs that were really paying the rent was doing live sound for bands at venues in San Francisco. Some Bay Area people may know, like the Boom Boom Room or Yoshi San Francisco. Even going back to like the Yerba Buena Garden Center, really beautiful outside shows with like 20-person bands. A lot of like huge jazz groups and stuff, which were really eye-opening to how much soul is in, you know, the live performance of music, specifically in the Bay Area. And through doing hundreds of those shows over a couple of years, that's basically what was keeping the lights on and also keeping me involved in the scene and the industry. There's a lot of synergy between doing front of house for a band and making EDM in the studio. And for anyone who's not familiar with front of house, it's basically the spaceship in the middle of the dance floor, which has the mixing console with like all the faders and stuff that go up and down, and controls the sound of the whole show. Especially when there's a band, there's like the kick drum and the snare drum and the guitar player and the lead vocalist and the bass player and the keyboard player, and all that kind of needs to be mixed together in order to sound good and pleasing, and like, you know, you can listen to it effortlessly. It's basically the idea. But through doing a lot of those little shows, I was introduced to a major production slash touring sound company, PK Sound, based in Canada. They have a pretty rabid, amazing fan base of like, you know, diehard PK fans, to be totally redundant. And yeah, they do like festivals like Shambhala and a lot of tours with like Skrillex. They sent me on a tour with the Glitch Mob doing front of house, which was life changing for a lot of different reasons. But I did probably about 200 shows with those guys over 2 years. Their whole Love, Death, Immortality tour cycle, which included like Coachella, EDC, I mean, just dozens of different amazing music festivals where I got to kind of get a feel for what really resonates on the dance floor and like what works in that kind of setting and how it's supposed to feel. And from guys like the Glitch Mob, who kind of wrote the book on like West Coast bass music, it was extremely helpful. They
Right.
taught me a lot of tricks that I still use in the studio today.
Mhm.
And a lot of mixing techniques and stuff. So I guess that's where the synergy continues to work together. So after the Glitch Mob was wrapped up, I did a tour with Bigwild, who's also an amazing electronic artist. Really just down to earth, sweet, humble, really great guy. And I toured with Bassnectar for about a year. I toured with the Chainsmokers for about a half a year, a couple tour cycles. And I'm no longer doing touring. I, about a year and a half ago or so, decided to go full time or full pursuit of my music. And part of why I made that decision is I got a bit of a wake up call in a lot of different ways. And basically halfway through a tour, their management decided that they wanted to go a different direction with the sound. They wanted to try a different mix approach, and I was basically sent home from the tour halfway through from Europe. And so it was a bit of a shock of cold water. I thought it had been going pretty well, but it really made me evaluate where I was in my life to just kind of be like put out on my ass. And also to as kind of a wake up call that like I could spend my whole life achieving somebody else's dream and working myself to death and not making my own music or expressing myself creatively because I was constantly touring. I could easily keep doing that and make great money, you know, and buy a house and, you know, do this and that and live out the American dream. And I easily could have gone back to touring because there was tons of work. But it was actually the girls from Astrologic who basically encouraged me to take the plunge and stop taking touring front of house work, which was paying my rent, and to fully pursue the music. And it wasn't a decision that I made overnight, although I pretty quickly resolved that I wasn't going to do any more touring as a front of house. I wasn't going to do any more touring until I was playing my own shows. And either I was support for an artist or a headlining tour. Either way, it wasn't going to be any more doing the tech work, which I still do love doing as well. It wasn't anything like against it or that I didn't love it. It was just I can only focus on one or two things at a time. And most of what that is saying no to 90% of the opportunity come my way, to stay focused on the 10% of opportunities and to keep myself available for the 10% of opportunities that can really come up that are easy to miss out on if you just say yes to everything or take every gig. So a bit of a winding path that got me here, but some people might ask, well, if I stopped doing my main work, how is that paying rent? To which my answer would be, great question. I don't really know. It kind of worked out. I still took one-off gigs. I still took like festival gigs that would just be like, hey, we need you to work Dirty Bird Camp Out. It's like, you know, a week long. You're going to be setting up the sound system and running the sound system and like, you know, tearing it down. And then, you know, and then you'll get a week or two off, and then you have this other opportunity. So and also just like local sound work around LA, like at the Palladium, you know, some of the other big venues around here that PK Sound would, you know, just bring me on for a day rate. I also did acoustic installations for recording studios, which, you know, was pretty helpful. I also did some sound design for video games, which I still do a little bit of on the side, because again, there's a lot of synergy there between doing sound design for a video game and doing sound design for music is pretty similar. It's all the same plugins and like it's all the same instruments and everything like that. It's just different applications. So finding work that was synergetic with what I wanted to be doing, I think is something that I've consciously or subconsciously made a priority. It's I think with anything, if there's something that you want to pursue that you're really passionate about, finding ways to get paid early on that can help you. Like let's say that you wanted to write a book, and if you can get, you know, work as an editor or, you know, as like a journalist or anything, you know, writing for the school paper, like doing work that ties to what your passion is, not only will it make you better at that job, it will also make you better at what you want to do, even though you won't have the time to always be doing it. I don't know where that was going, but hopefully I answered your question or one of them.
Wow, that was really inspiring. I've been basically, for those of you that don't know, I've been running these quarantine cameo Zoom parties. They're basically Zoom parties that that where we raise money for a good cause almost every week in quarantine. And like, I'm learning so much about you today, Ian. It's like, that's super inspiring. And I have so much respect for what you do. I genuinely, I don't know your story, but I absolutely love your music. So you're doing something right. And everybody loves your music that's been going to these Zoom parties. Yeah, you just have like a knack for bringing people together as well. So it's, and of course, you're so talented in with your sounds. I don't think we could have done these parties without you. We would do all these sound tests, and I literally don't think that we could have had the quality of sound and music without Ian at these parties. And so it's so crazy. I actually never even heard this story, your background story. You know, the only thing I knew was your bio, which I pasted and marketed our events with every single week from your profile. That's super inspiring. Thank you for sharing. How has this pandemic affected your ability to make money right now? Because I know, you know, you're still working on your music right now, and I don't know if that's bringing in any money right now, but I think the last time we chatted, you were working on sound for video games. Where are you now?
There's no shows happening now, so the landscape is quite a bit different. Yeah, it was a bit of a rug to be pulled out. I have been doing sound design for a new video game coming out. It's from Bad Robot Games. It's still a working title, and I'm under NDA, so I probably can't say much more than that. But it's really fun, and yeah. I've also been working with a record label called Mother Wolf, but plug. They're amazing, and they're based here in, well, they're kind of coast to coast, LA and New York City, but they've been great. I've been helping them produce music for their label that fits the sound that they're going for, and I've been producing a lot of Eko Zu music for their label that'll be coming out in the next couple months. I have a track with Moons coming out, who's like one of my favorite vocalists. It's called Love Letters, which is really exciting. I've been working on music pretty much nonstop. So between Mother Wolf, the label, and the video game that I've been working on, that has been barely keeping me afloat. But for the past couple years, and even for the past decade, barely afloat, I would say sums up like most of my financial situation, which is it's an interesting thing to say casually, but I think that a lot of people are in that place right now, and I think that given the way that, you know, the financial system, especially in the US, is designed to be a bit of a trap, I think that there's nothing wrong with staying afloat as long as you're also happy and doing a lot of self-work and putting good vibrations into the world. And also, I've had to make a lot of sacrifices financially to make sure that the music could stay the focus, because there's plenty of times where I was hard up for money, and a tour would come up that would put me on the road for 6 months or around the world, pays well. But again, it was make the decision of like, okay, you know, eat really slim and like don't go out, and just be really cognizant of the finances. And, you know, I've missed credit card payments. I've, you know, been late on other different payments. I've managed to always pay rent pretty much on the first, but it's really been like a labor of love, and also making sure to prioritize staying ahead with the music, even over like being financially super stable and super secure, because when I was financially stable, I wasn't happy because I was working all the time. And so think that in the US there's this obsession with security and safety, which comes directly from, you know, our reptile brain, basically, like our sense of survivalism, you know, the amygdala, like the just this little center of your brain that's like, you know, you gotta just stack and stash and bury food so that you can stay alive. But I've been walking a bit of a tightrope for a while now, and it's really weird and kind of unconventional, but that's the only reason that I'm releasing, you know, 2 songs this month, and I released one last month, and I'm releasing one next month. And it's like finally only like in the past 6 months or so, would I say that I'm starting to get my feet under me and the music is starting to make some money, because I have been okay with not knowing how I'm going to make rent in a month. because I am confident that the money will be there, that an opportunity will come up that will allow that to happen. But a lot of it is just a leap of faith and trusting just the intuition that it's going to work out, and manifesting that it will work out is it's a practice. And I wouldn't pretend that it doesn't cause like massive anxiety sometimes. And I think as long as the mind and body can stay healthy, like taking care of yourself, and just the persistence, like you can make your passion pay the bills for sure. Like that's the most qualified thing you would be to pay the bills with, because if you're passionate about something and you're really good at it, there's going to be a demand in some way, shape, or form for your skills, like most likely. So I think just using that as the point of leverage,
Yeah.
and not really worrying about a lot of the other stuff. I mean,
It's like one of my favorite quotes is do what you love and you never work another day of your life, because it's not work, right? Like even though you're working really hard, at least it's something you really want to do, and it's something that you're really passionate about. And I'm a huge believer of that. And it might be kind of shitty right now, the money situation, but it's a means to an end. And I think you're doing the right thing, and you're definitely staying focused, and you're going to get there. And I mean, speaking of which, what is your end goal with Eko Zu? Where do you want to be?
Eko Zu started off as a collective, and I still see it as a collective, even though I'm the only official member, I guess. There's still like a team of singers, dancers, flow artists, like instrumentalists, just like musicians, that I work on all this stuff with. And so I want to make sure that Eko Zu maintains a collective feel. I want to build a community around it of like-minded, like socially aware individuals, which I mean, it's already happening. Like just doing the quarantine cameo events, we saw so much support from amazing people who were like doing fucking awesome things in the world, and really passionate about what they're doing. So I want to use it to build like a loose organization or a family of people on the same wavelength that we can work together and like move some mountains. I want to really I want to use the music as a way, also as like a kind of a flag, a calling card, to bring more of these people together. I want to use my influence through this music and I haven't figured out the details of this exactly yet, but how to help reform the education system, which is just so fucked in the US and is causing, in my opinion, it's the root of everything that is wrong with the US, is that we're not educating the next generation well at all. In that we're not training leaders, we're training followers. We're not training creative problem solvers, which is really what we need more than anything right now, is people who can creatively solve problems that we haven't really faced before. And so how the hell to implement these, pie in the sky notion, ideas into our system, I don't know. I haven't really gotten that far yet, but I do know that if I can build this project and gain influence and get people to listen, that I can connect with the people who can make that happen. And hopefully I can use my influence or money or whatever that may be to tip the scales in that direction. And I know that there's others like me who believe that, a foreign exchange program that was a lot more developed for our high schoolers would be a massive advancement in like just we're all just in our own little bubbles, especially in the US. This like we're in this state of extreme individualism, which is amazing for, business, but is really bad for our mental health, as we're seeing manifested in just so many different ways. It doesn't have longevity. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of little mini milestones along the way. Like I want to play at Lightning in a Bottle Music Festival, and I want to do a proper tour of the US, and also go beyond, because I've toured through Asia and I've toured through Australia and Europe with, the Glitchmob and all those other guys. And it's just so amazing connecting with fans across the world. And the more that you leave the US, the more that you see how everyone is really the same and looking for the same thing. And it gives you a lot more compassion for the rest of the world and people who aren't inside of your country's borders, because there's this whole tribalism, this whole team built mentality that has really been ingrained in us, from birth, of us versus them. It's just causing a lot of really bad. And yeah, we need to get people outside of their bubbles, and kids especially, early on. So yeah, there's a lot of change that I want to see in the world, and I'm hoping that through the music that I can help to bring some of that about. We'll see what the next couple years hold, but that's more or less, I guess, the goal.
That's a really big dream. And I think you're already doing it. You're already like partway there through your music, making meaningful music, speaking your voice, creating a community of people, whether it's Quarantine Cameo or fans of Eko Zu. I mean, there's a ton of people that already love you and love your music. And I think just keep going, and you're going to get there. And I mean, even in like the last 6 months that, I mean, I've known you for longer, but like the last 6 months of me really getting to know you, you just have a knack for bringing people together. And that's a talent. That's part of your personality. And you care so much about the community and our world and people in this world. And I think people see that, and people will follow. It's like all of us want the same thing that you do as well. And so I think you just keep trekking forward, and you'll definitely get there. And I myself will help in any way possible on my end as well. And we got to talk about bringing back Quarantine Cameo. We're going to be in quarantine for, gosh, it seems like honestly the remainder of the year. I mean, what do you think about bringing that back?
I'd love to bring back Quarantine Cameo. I think that now that I'm moved, that can definitely happen again. I'm living in a house with producers and artist managers in Mid City, LA, which is like right in the heart of it. And yeah, we're already talking about how we could do some live streams in the backyard. I got my green screen set up. I don't know if anybody out there guessed, but this is not actually the background of where I'm sitting right now. So yeah, I've kind of got the stuff set up to where it'll be possible to do some more. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how much longer the quarantine lasts. It's been clearly really difficult for the US to really get our together. Collectively, we're just like we're like so team oriented that it's just like red versus blue, and like, Bible Belt versus like the coastal cities, and like, it's just, yeah, we're really struggling with it as a country, and it's like really apparent that, yeah, I don't know if you had something to say.
Yeah, we just got to do what we can in our own communities, right? I mean, the people and the communities that we can affect. If things start opening up again, we can totally do some sort of hybrid event, partially, online, where we stream it on Zoom, but we can still have socially distant people. Yeah, we
Yeah,
could.
it's like a pretty small yard.
Right. So we could do a Quarantine Cameo with some like more people with Zoom, like some type of hybrid.
Right.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so
Yeah, it'd be fun.
cool. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's really tricky just with like, yeah, the social distancing and everything like that. Man, it's so tough. I'm really feeling for my friends who throw events right
Yeah.
now, because it's one thing as an artist to be like, oh well, I won't play shows this year, but I can make money off of royalties or sync licensing, or any of that stuff. But people in events, and I mean, I even know as a live sound engineer, I mean, what you make, your money is entirely dependent on throwing shows, right? Or being part of shows. So there's no royalties. You're not making money in your sleep when you're doing event production. And so I've been watching them try to figure out, how do we do responsible, socially distanced shows. And I've seen a couple of them really kind of like drop the ball on it, and do events that get a fair amount of backlash because there's videos posted from it, and like nobody's wearing a mask, and like there's no social distancing stuff in place, and it just looks like it could have been shot in 2018. And it's so tough because it's like, the drive-in shows seem like they might start to be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's like, your car is not really the same as being up and dancing. It seems like kind of boxing people off into their own like 6 foot cubes,
Yeah.
and enforcing math is better. But then it's like people drinking alcohol, they're gonna take off their mask, and so the default answer to that is, well, just don't do events until quarantine is lifted. Which I sympathize with, but then the other side of that coin is like, well, these are like millions of jobs that if we could figure out a way to safely do events with social distancing, then that's going to save a lot of people's asses. And I think we've seen from like the Black Lives Matter protest, which I've been to, you can do gatherings as long as people are really diligent and conscious about wearing their mask. Where I think that we weren't seeing much of an uptick in coronavirus cases from the Black Lives Matter protest. Where we were seeing the uptick is like just a week ago, there was some huge biker rally, held in like Oklahoma or something, and there's like 250,000 new cases that they're saying came from that, based on like phone analytics data of like tracking, where people are going and who got it and all this and that. So yeah, it's really tough right now to say what's right and what's wrong. Obviously, you can't balance a life against a job. At the end of the day, the life is always more important. But we're gonna be sitting with this for quite a while now. It's not gonna go away. It's not like on December 31st of 2020, coronavirus is gonna end, and then on January 1st of 2021, woo, we're back. 2020's over. It's like we're gonna be feeling the ripple effects of this from a while. So I think that while safety is number one, it's also beneficial if we can figure out a way that we can do this thing, and have responsibly hosted, socially distanced shows. But it's gonna be hard.
I know.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things. There's no easy right blanket answer that would be good for everybody. So yeah, it's a tough one.
We'll just
I don't
have
know.
to roll with the punches, see what
Yeah.
happens day by day, right? Since you're so integrated in the music industry, how are professional musicians making money? How else are they able to do anything else? Are they doing the same thing you're doing right now? So they're not able to play live shows?
I think a lot of them are on unemployment. I mean, I've seen artist friends of mine who are, way bigger or well known with more of a following than I am, and they're posting about not seeing their unemployment come through. I think a lot of people are in that same boat. I mean, a lot of them do make maybe enough money off of Spotify streams or streaming, but it's you really got to be racking up the streams to pay your rent, especially if you're living in LA, with Spotify streams. And so I don't know. I think everybody is just kind of trying to diversify. Hopefully, they're finding work doing stuff like sound design, or they're finding that synergetic work that it's like, they can use their skills to also make money. I've thought about this probably more than is necessarily healthy, but like if there were to be an apocalypse or something, like the skills of a producer or a sound engineer are not going to translate to just about anything. It's not anything like a doctor or something like that would. So it's a really fragile industry at the same time, and like the skill set that we've developed as artists is so niche for the most part,
Yeah.
that yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's like on the one hand it's great because we're so specialized that there's plenty of demand and right now, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary to think that if shit were to hit the fan, then there would have to be a total redirection of energy. But then again, if it comes to that, then we have much bigger problems than paying rent, probably.
I mean, music is so important, right? I like I've been saying, I think like mental and emotional well-being are just as important as physical. And so that's what artists do, right? Whether it's music or performance arts or whatever type of art, right? I think it is necessary, it's part of what makes us human, our creative side. So I think you are doing something good for society. And if there was an apocalypse, we would still need you, we'd definitely still need you. And I'm sure you're gaining so many different skills from everything that you do in producing music as well, right? Like I know that you have skills that are definitely necessary and crucial to humanity.
I make a really great cup of tea.
See, there you go. There you go. That's important as well. Oh my gosh. Well, that's all I can say at this point is hang in there. I'm right there with you. I'm an artist myself, but a different type of artist. I'm in marketing, but I get paid to do events, right? So it's I really, really feel you in that sense. And as a dancer, as a performer, it's so weird. I haven't I in quarantine I performed for that one show for you. That's like the only time I performed this entire last half year, which is so strange. I'm also very used to performing at festivals, performing at a bunch of shows. So my job goes hand in hand with yours. I'm on the same boat as you. I'm totally in the same boat as you. And as long as COVID is around, there probably isn't going to be very many in-person events. And so at least in the events portion of it, we've been pivoting to online events. But I think the industry is still trying to figure out how to make money off of it. Actually have a question for you. I've been seeing a lot of these, EDC, Coachella, like all these festivals that are streaming online. Are people paying for these events or are they completely free? Are artists just performing for free and just doing it because they miss performing? How is this all working?
I think that's been a big point of contention, actually, even amongst artists one another, is saying that if you're performing for free, you're essentially devaluing the performance aspect of it and also making it harder for your fellow musicians to get work performing, because it's kind of like when Napster first popped up.
Yeah.
If people can get it for free, who's going to buy it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that some of the events are payment based. I think that everybody is just kind of flying blind a little bit. And if the question is, how is this working? I don't know that it is necessarily working as far as like, or that anybody has truly figured it out and is making bank. I think that everybody is just kind of trying stuff out. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're a huge artist, if you're somebody like Martin Garrix or if you're EDC and you can bring massive production to the picture, that you can potentially charge people $20, $30. I don't know. I think that the smart way to do it as an artist, if you're not too timid about it, is to do like a Patreon or a donation based streaming where it's like you don't charge people to come to it, but they can tip you if they want. I think that there's a lot of value that people will often give more if it's by choice than if they're asked to pay for something, which is kind of what Radiohead did with their album, sort of in response to Napster, that they were like, it it's free. If you guys want to pay us for it, you totally can, but we're gonna make you do it. And I don't know if they ever released the official figures for that, but I think that sort of approach to it, that's how Pretty Lights blew up as well. Exact same, method. He wasn't really that well known. He put all of his music out for free, like many albums. He was, I would say, one of the early adopters to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And people people just downloaded it, and then they were like, oh, this is dope. Here's $5, here's $10. Maybe they had a super fan, or his mom who was like, here's $20. And through that, he really built up his following. And yeah, it seems like the whole Patreon thing or donation based is really beneficial right now because it's tough. I mean, we found, it's tough to get people to show up for online events, especially if you don't have like huge names on the bill. It's tough to get people to show up. And there's an argument to be made that by charging for entry to something like that, you're increasing the perception of value to where people are like, oh, well, I paid $5 for this. Now I appreciate this more. And the other side of that to where it's like, well, if you let them in for free and then they see how amazing it is and they just come in because there's low to no barrier of entry, then maybe they'll kick in $5 or $10. I mean, we've done all donations to benefits, and like we've raised, what was it, over 5K?
Yeah.
With just through people's good nature, basically, and had we charged people, 10 bucks to get into the event, and we would have had to sell 10, 600 tickets, or 500 tickets, maybe we wouldn't have made that 5K for charity. And yeah, I think that in that case, we made the right decision. And I think it really all depends on the artist and their relationship with the fans, and how much promotion that they have behind them. It's interesting to see like what Live Nation and organizations like that who are kind of at the forefront of events, it's sort of in their ball court as far as how to handle this whole pandemic, and it seems like they've been fairly hands off for the most part, which is probably the right move. Just not really doing them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think everybody just kind of has their fingers crossed for like me, or just praying for a miracle in general. But it's probably best that we don't expect anything like that to happen. Kind of hope for the best, expect the worst. Keep planning and trying things, and yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. What do you think?
it's going to be a little bit before people are going to feel comfortable coming out again. And my biggest worry is we haven't even seen the second or third wave in the US. I mean, Asia, Europe, they're on like their third wave. The numbers will probably start coming down, and then fall and winter will hit, and it's probably going to go back up. So the interesting thing is, how do you balance that, right? How do you balance planning out in an event like a live in-person festival in 2021 when you just don't know, right? And until we have some type of vaccine, and a working vaccine that is made in massive amounts for the public, I just don't see us getting back to our norm pre-quarantine. And so I think that we're in 2021, we're probably going to see a lot of, like I was saying, the hybrid events, and you're going to see a lot more online based type of events. I don't know about these drive-through. I know that there was a drive-through music concert a couple weeks ago. I want to see it. I think I saw an EDM Madness that someone was posting about tickets, and I mean, I didn't even hear about it, so I have no idea how that went. But I think people start to get creative with these type of events and stuff. And I think I'm an optimist, and I believe that the human race we're very good with change. And I think we're just going to have to go with the flow and make it work like we have for our entire humanity. I'm actually excited to see what comes out of this and what type of technology comes out of it. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm staying hopeful, I'm staying positive, and I'm taking this time to really personally work on self-care and figuring out what it is, this downtime, what it is that I want to do next. And reevaluate all the things that I have been working on, because similar to you, I'm always go, 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 right? And now I've been sitting at home for half a year and trying to figure out what it is that my next chapter is, and if I really want to continue to pursue all these things that I'm doing. And I'm actually really enjoying doing this podcast, this Remote Work Bay podcast, because not only am I learning a lot about other industries, about my own friends like yourself, but I think that a lot of people are getting value out of these conversations, and that's why I'm doing them. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's the state I'm in right now. And I do really miss hosting events. I miss performing, but I know we'll come back. It's just a matter of time, and I'm just patient.
Yeah, it's the hardest part is being patient. And I think it's really great that you're doing this podcast, and I think it's really fun. I mean, I listen to tons of podcasts all day. I listen to a lot of the Tim Ferriss podcasts, and like I've gotten so much out of those. Like I feel like so much of my personal growth and self-improvement this year has come from just listening to like really smart, interesting people just bounce back and forth, and like just learning from that stuff has helped me so much to just not feel like not feel stagnated, and to not just feel locked in with the same person or people all day every day, and just kind of be a fly on the wall, and like listen into stuff is really awesome. So hopefully, even if there's only one or two people that are deeply affected by this, like that's enough to change the world. It's just resonating deeply with one person can be enough to set in all the changes that we need to see in order to really continue. So yeah, I think that it's awesome that you're doing this, and and you're a great host as well. Fun digital times ahead of us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm learning every day, right? I mean, you're probably maybe the 10th person I've interviewed, and I'm learning so much as a host myself. And I started doing this as a challenge to myself as well. I mean, I don't know if you know, but my biggest fear is public speaking. So, so you would, it's crazy. No one would ever think that, but it is. It definitely is. And I actually, beginning of the year, I told myself I'm going to join Toastmasters and just get better at just impromptu public speaking. But, pandemic happened, and so this is also a challenge for me. And I've actually gotten so much more out of this than just that. Really, I was honestly like genuinely getting to know people in my network better, like yourself, and having these genuine conversations with people is, I guess, keeping me like sane in quarantine. So outside of our quarantine cameo, of course. But yeah, I mean, I sit at home all day. I haven't left my house. I'm in the corner of my bedroom, like with these lights on me, and I'm, it's something. It's something, and it keeps me going every day, and I really enjoy it. And like similar to what you were talking about in your story, is as long as you're passionate about it, that's what matters. I don't know where I'm going to go with this whole remote work bay thing, but I'm just going to keep going as long as people are enjoying it and people are willing to talk to me. And hopefully, this project goes somewhere. So before we go, so tell us about the two songs you released, and where can people find it? How can they support you?
Let's see. So I just released a tune a couple days ago called Ride the Wave with Bachelors of Science, who are some of my favorite drum and bass producers, and featuring MC Dre, who's a dope rapper. He's like resident at Respect Drum and Bass, and yeah, he's really great. So we shot this music video and we released this tune, which is really fun. It's on YouTube. There's if you just Ride the Wave, Eko Zu, EKO space ZU, as in Echo Zoo. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, so you can find that on YouTube. It's on Spotify as well, and SoundCloud, all the things. And then I have a tune coming out tomorrow called Pages, featuring Luna, who's an amazing singer here in LA. One of my good friends, Kill Will, co-produced the tune with me, and Action Paxton, who's one of my best friends and also now my roommate. And yeah, we're releasing that on Mother Wolf, which is this dope new label that is kind of like us. They're like really sort of, socially conscious and trying to do good things for the music industry and beyond. So I'll be releasing a lot of music with them. But yeah, that'll be on Spotify as well. That's probably the best place to listen to my new stuff is on Spotify, but of course it's also on like, all the other platforms. So whatever kind of works best for the listener. But yeah, hit me up, shoot me a DM on, anyone on Instagram or whatever. However you can find me, I'm out there. But yeah, I'd love to connect with people who are sort of on the similar wavelength, and yeah, just kind of start to really build this community or continue to build this community of just like dope individuals. I think it's really beautiful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for sharing your story. I'm really looking forward to your song release tomorrow. I love your music, and I am in full support of everything that you do. I know how hard it is to be an artist, and especially in these times. So I will definitely add all of your contact information and all the links below when I do release video so that people can find you as well.
Nice. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well,
Super fun.
so much, Ian. I hope you're doing well. And we should do like a social distance hang since you're literally my neighbor.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ian. Have a great night.
Audrey, it's great to talk, catch up a bit.
Yeah.